It took a moment of time, one heartbeat, a split second. Diego Campos had grown up in a cruel, unrelenting world and knew for a fact that everything you planned, everything you held dear, could be lost in that single space of time. Despite all the plans you made, all the precautions you took, that single moment would change your life. Those horrible, life-altering moments had happened to him many times, setting him on dark paths he could never come back from, and he was damn tired of trying. He had come home to die. The only thing he wanted from life now was to be cremated and have his ashes buried next to his parents and 5 siblings in the graveyard behind the cabin his father had built so many years ago, there in the Appalachian Mountains. He was on his way home to the old cabin now. With the exception of his brother Reuben, most of the rest of his family were already there, interred in the rocky soil that had been their home for so many years. It was important to him that his ashes were laid to rest beside them, and he knew, being a GhostWalker, that wouldn't happen if he died anywhere but at the cabin, where Reuben would find him. Even grieving, Reuben would follow his wishes to the letter, and he would grieve. Reuben had followed others into the military and into the volunteer program of enhancement of psychic abilities. Diego had followed Reuben. Both scored exceptionally high and were accepted into the program. In the end, not only had their psychic abilities been enhanced, but they had been altered genetically, given animal, bird, and even reptile DNA. Those traits allowed them to do extraordinary things, but they also brought out every negative trait any volunteer in the GhostWalker program had. Diego had quite a bit of darkness in him. That had never stopped Reuben from having intense loyalty toward Diego, however. Diego had driven up to the old trail that led the way up the mountain. He was miles from home, having to travel mostly by foot to reach the family homestead. He pulled off the pitted dirt road into the shelter of trees and brush. It was one of the places Reuben would look for his vehicle. They had often returned to the mountains and would leave supplies for each other in the truck they'd hidden in the bushes. There was an old road leading up the mountain, but they rarely used it. Neither liked to leave tracks. Despite the shit show that was his life, Diego could never say he hadn't been loved. But Reuben would be grieving for a man who had ceased to exist years earlier. Hell, a man who never truly had existed. All the good in him had died during his brutal childhood years. He was sorry Reuben would be the one to find him. If there were a way to spare his brother that, he would. But ending it at the cabin, knowing Reuben would be along in the next week or two to visit the neighbors who needed a doctor, was the only way he could think of to ensure his last wishes were carried out.